Hi, I'm Martin Jarvis, and once again I want to welcome you to Listen. Sha'Carri Richardson. Oh man. It's being brought so high and being brought so low. And I'm not talking about her either. I know she's probably feeling terrible right now. I know she is. But for many of us as well. And I think I was her biggest fan. I still am. Young, 19, 20 years old. Think about what I was doing, what I was thinking, and when I was 19 and 20 years old. You know, I was never in a position really to be recognized worldwide for anything. I was in the Air Force, just cutting up, traveling the world and all, but not known by the world, okay? Fastest woman in the world gets popped. Fails a drug test, tests positive, stripped from that time that qualified her to run the 100 in the Olympics, so now she can't run it. She might be allowed to participate in the Olympics, but not in that particular race, which was her specialty. But still, maybe a relay race or something, a team effort. It's very interesting, and I know she feels terrible about it. And, I wonder, do you think, and it was weed that messed her up, and I think many of us have been there. We understand, we comprehend, and through that, you find two camps, even among black folks that are coming out. You see them on social media. It's a very good place to get, a feel for the pulse of black people is on social media. So you have a group, half the black people are like, this is why they need to legalize weed, And you get the other half of black people like, these are the rules, they should have been followed. I think the one thing we all have in common is that we feel terrible about it, I know that when I saw her, run and qualify and just do so well, I was really impressed. I even got kind of tickled at the way she looked, with her hair and the fingernails, the tattoos, her whole aura, her personality and all that stuff. Because I've done a lot of work in the communities, and I've seen I see a lot of failures, kids that have not really been able to step up, not having the influence, not even having the ability to conceive the potential for their lives and just fail. And then when you see somebody like that, do well and succeed, you're just thrilled because we see so many and we hear of so many negative stories and poor stories about kids, especially black kids. But when you see one that excels, you just appreciate it. And there are many that excel, but certain ones that maybe because of the look, because of the mannerisms, because of the speech, we stereotype it or stereotype. And if you look at that individual's family and friends and the community that they live in, a lot of them aren't where she is at, aren't that successful. So when you see one, it's a thrill. Remember when a lot of black folks that I knew, and not a lot of them, but a few of them were coming against her because of what type person she was, man. To me, it was all the better. And I was sharing with my daughter, I said, see that, look at that. It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter if you look like something the society as a whole or the majority of society or a lot of people might take issue with. If you are excellent at something, they will congratulate you. They will be there. They will be at your beck and call. Okay, but you can't put the horse before the carriage, You can't be that way and simply expect to be accepted. But I guarantee you, if you perfect yourself, if you become a person of excellence, nobody can give you any kind of poor time or any kind of mistreatment because of how you're carrying yourself, because you're excellent. When you're better than somebody else at something. I remember the press was ragging on the tennis player Naomi Osaka. And they asked Venus Williams her perspective on it. And of course, paraphrased, she was like, well, that you shouldn't take, to heart criticism from people who can't possibly do what you can do. That was a shot at the press, for real. And so I was thrilled for her, and many black folks, and many people that I know, and white folks, and everybody else across the world, they just loved Sha'Carri Richardson. And then she just jacked herself up. And I'm not really speaking in terms of the weed, coming down harsh on the weed. I don't smoke weed anymore. I don't smoke weed. But I understand, okay? Because many people that are very disappointed in her and recognize that she should have followed the rules, if any of them smoke weed, it's simply a reality that you have to use, that she didn't exercise wisdom, okay? And so those are the two camps that are coming down. I take issue with those folks that are using her as a platform to demand that weed be, legalized, because they're just using her as a poster child, and that's not right. And secondly, come on. Weed is a drug. You might say alcohol is a drug. Yeah, well, I don't smoke weed or drink alcohol, so this is where I'm coming from, and I've been there, my past. It just keeps, they don't help. You're not a productive person. They're both harmful, alcohol and weed, to your productivity, to your long-term health and productivity. So I don't really buy that, but that's really a non-issue. The issue really is, I wonder if somebody were to offer Sha'Carri Richardson a joint now. After all this, she's lost multi-million dollars. If you look at, in business, they have this thing called opportunity cost, okay? It's to where you have to look at a situation and make a decision. Should I do this or should I do that? If I do this, what's the gain? But the opportunity cost is, what will the loss be? Is it worth it when I balance the two? Or I make this other decision, what would the gain be or what would the loss be? When I balance the two, am I satisfied with what I've lost, as a comparison to what I've gained, okay? And so when the opportunity costs that are now lacking for Sha'Carri Richardson are the multi-million dollars, she probably would have come into her hands by endorsements, by all these companies that would appreciate her unique look, and exploit it for their own marketing, for their own products and all, making her rich. And she'll probably still be rich one day, but she just did throw a monkey wrench in her plans. But so my question then is, if somebody were to offer her a joint right now, hey, I know you're feeling bad, Sha'Carri, you want to take a hit off this? You think she would? Probably not. Psychologists, sociologists tell you that in order for you to stop a habit or stop something that you're really, into, that you really love to do, you need a significant emotional event in your life. And for her, that was it. She probably won't ever smoke weed again. And this may be the trajectory for her life, that turning point in her life that turned everything around. Because she is not like her neighbors. She's not like the peers that she interacts with. She has the destiny before her that is far greater than most of the people she has ever known in her life. And she has the opportunity, if she rides that potential wave properly, to be a positive influence in the lives of her peers, of many who would not have stepped up had she not, okay? We're often confused, okay? And if you're a confused person, you're probably not going anywhere. And you're probably not going to accomplish much until you rid yourself of that confusion. Because when there's confusion, there's probably no plan. I know I did a lot of work on the 5th of July, the day after the 4th of July, my yard work. Man, I spent 5.5 hours out there, and it was like 90 plus degrees. I'm going to be 63 years old this year. It wasn't easy. Man, I had like 9 trees, 15 bushes, a yard. I was out there. I was just doing it because I had to get done. I knew my wife and my daughter weren't going to do it. I had to do it. But I did even the night before. I think if I had just gone out there and, okay, I just got to start doing something, I don't know where I'm going to start, and just start somewhere, it wouldn't have worked so well. But the night before, I knew what bush I was going to start with, and the next bush, and the next bush, and the trees, and the trees, and the bushes, and the trees, and all that stuff, and then I was going to do the lawn. I had a game plan. I knew there was no confusion in my mind. I knew what I needed to do. I got it done. It was finished. Took all the branches to the dump. I was finished in 5.5 hours. because I had a plan. I wasn't confused. I knew what I was doing. If you're a confused person, you're probably not going to go anywhere. You're probably not going to be successful. If you're a confused people, you're not going to be going anywhere, bouncing this way, that way. You're not knowing how to react when stuff happens. You need to have a plan beforehand. This is the plan. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to walk it out. We got nothing. As black people in America, we are reactionary. And see, the thing about being reactionary is it doesn't last, okay? See, if you have a plan, I'm going to do this first, then I'm going to do that, then I'm going to do that. And even at like 20 or 30 steps to it, it will continue all the way to the end. But if you're simply responding to something happens in a reaction, that response is going to die. Because there is no plan to it. There is no longevity to it. It's a momentary reaction, an emotional reaction, and that emotional reaction eventually dissipates. I mean, it's even like a self-survival. You can't stay in an emotional reactive state and survive for very long because you have other things you have to do. But if you have a plan, step by step, and you start at step one and begin walking it out, you will walk it out to completion. Man, I share just about every program how I earned my MBA. I was 50 years old. I went to Sinclair College. And I walked it through and earned my associate degree. And then I went on to further my education. I walked that through to a bachelor's degree. And then I followed for further education. I walked that through to an MBA. But how? For each degree program, there were classes I had to take. And I would just take them. Take that class, this class, this class. When I finished that, it was done. Then I went to another one. I took that for the bachelor's degree. Took each class. They had a list of classes. I took each of those. I was done. For the MBA, there was a list of classes. I took each of those classes. I was done. There was a plan. There was a step 1, 2, 3, 4, as far as it would go. Now, if I sat back there and just took a look at the whole plan from day one, it would have been disheartening. It would have been overwhelming somewhat, but still doable. But if I have no plan at all and I want to get my MBA and I just go to school and take any class and then before that class is over, I'm like, do I really want to do this? Man, I could be at home watching NCIS or something. But I reacted. I had a reactionary response, signed up for school, took a class, but before that class was even over, I was even wondering if this is what I really want to do because I wouldn't have had a plan. And that's how it is in life. That's why as black people in this nation, we've only gotten to certain places because we never really had a plan. So they killed this brother in the street. We're going to go out and protest. So they choked this guy out. You know, we're going to protest and we're going to burn this down and we're going to do this and that. We're just reactionary. Reactionary is never long term and it never comes to a positive conclusion. I'm telling you, if you have a plan, it will. And that's what we normally don't have. And so I'm suggesting today, as long as we're confused, we don't have a plan, we're not going to go anywhere. You have to make a plan. I think there's a biblical verse in Scripture that says something about write the vision and make it plain. That's what we have to do in America. We don't have to run around quoting Black Lives Matter, because they don't. Not to anybody but us. So whoever it is that we're trying to convince that Black Lives Matter, they don't care. Critical race theory, you see how they're fighting it? Because they don't care. It's not that they don't agree, they don't even understand. I was speaking to a gentleman today. He was expressing to me about critical race theory and about how there have always been black and white and brown problems and all this. I'm like, and as intelligent as he was, he really didn't know what critical race theory was about. There's this thing called intersectionality. And let me in all humility say that my 16-year-old daughter explained critical race theory and intersectionality to me. I'd never even heard of it. So before this thing, hit the news and all this, all this furor and everything going on about critical race theory, my kid knew about it. And I was watching her, and she was presenting a Zoom presentation. It was a PowerPoint presentation, and she was in it, narrating. And she was talking about this particular aspect of critical race theory called intersectionality. And it was, so it's not really simply that there are black and white or brown issues. But there are many more issues. Like, for instance, you might have a woman who's maybe a mixed race, black and white, a single mother, and gay. So she's got like a few things going on there, not just one. So let's make it simple. So you have this woman that she goes to work for this company, and her boss doesn't like black women. Thinks they're uppity, thinks they're emotional, thinks you have to really hover over them to make sure they do a good job. This is this white man, right? Doesn't like black women. So this black woman is working for him, and she's a good-hearted, good, hard-working black woman, and she recognizes she's not really being treated right. She's being given the worst jobs, and she isn't even getting the information to where she could promote. This guy, isn't giving her the information she needs to be a good employee for this company, and she wants to go to court. He doesn't like black people. But as it turns out, this guy has black male friends. They love to meet at the bar. They love to talk about sports. He likes his black male friends. So this black woman cannot prove that this guy's a racist, that this guy doesn't like black people because he has black male friends. Okay, so maybe she's going to try proving, that he's a sexist. But he likes white women. He goes out with white women. He goes out on dates with white women. So she, as a black woman, can't prove that he doesn't like women because he goes out with women. So she's stuck. He is obviously mistreating her because she's a black woman, but she can't prove he's a racist because he likes black men. She can't prove that he's a sexist because he likes white women. She's stuck. She's stuck at an intersection. So it's deeper than that. There's so many deep things out there that we're having to face. So to me, it's not that big an issue if these school districts cannot teach critical race theory. Because learning about critical race theory and how the laws have been instituted over the years and these barriers and obstacles that are being faced, they've always been here. They've not been a secret. And these folks do not have any incentive to want it to be spoken or clarified to their children. All I'm saying is we have to find a way within ourselves to improve ourselves out of the situation that we're in. For me, for my education and my job, I'm in a pretty good position. So I am not being affected like many other folks would be affected. You can walk yourself right out of a place of victimization simply by improving yourself. And that's what we need to do. It's not about getting them to admit it. It's not even about getting reparations, because that's never going to happen. The key is simply to better yourself. The Black Panthers for Self-Defense understood this. See, we look at the Black Panthers for Self-Defense and we see those brothers like Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale and many Juan Karang and all those other brothers looking sharp, wearing their leathers and their berets and holding their rifles and all. But they had feeding programs. They had reading programs. They had programs within communities to help people to be well. It was their intent to bring the self-esteem of the black community up, individual by individual. Why? Because that's where your power is, because you're never going to do anything as long as you're confused. You're never going to do anything when you have a low self-esteem. You have to recognize who you are, the potential you have, figure out a game plan, figure out a strategy to get there, and then walk it out. That's the key. That's the only way out. And you're going to walk yourself right out of oppression. Because if you're better than the people who are trying to oppress you, how can they oppress you? You've taken yourself right out of their purview of influence. And now you're just looking at them, being tickled at their antics. That's where I'm at. And the only reason I'm not really tickled at their antics so much is because there are too many of us that are still in that position of need. Too many of us are in a position of confusion. And the worst kind of confusion, The worst kind of confusion is the confusion that you have and you don't believe you're confused, because then your situation is hopeless. If you're simply confused and you know you're confused, you're going to be groping around trying to find your way to give yourself some enlightenment so you're no longer confused and you can climb your way out. But if you're confused and you don't know you're confused, you're not even looking for a solution. And that's how many of us are in our black community, in this city, in all cities, and even in the world. We think we're okay. I mean, we're in the middle of a business district waiting for a bus and dancing around on the street like an organ grinder's friend. I mean, what's the point of that? I'm saying is we need that, and that's the next day the same thing, the next day the same thing. In our communities, we're like driving, crazy through lights, speeding, this and that. Don't have a license or insurance. What's all that about? Confusion. In our community, our situation's not right. We don't have a home. We don't have any place to live. And we're getting high and we're drinking. We're getting that buzz while we're living in our mama's basement. What's that? Confusion. We have a job that we don't go to. We don't hardly show up for work for. There's not going to be any promotion, any suggestion for promotion, because we're jacking ourselves up by our poor work ethic. What is that? Confusion. We are stymieing the positive growth of those who would come after us. Simply by our inability to see, to understand, to recognize where we are or where we are not. And when we look back at our family trees, we are the descendants of ancestors. Well, guess what? You will be in a family tree, and there will be descendants of you one day, the ancestor. Well, what influence did you have on those lives that are going to be coming after you? Okay? I'm just suggesting, man, I came up like many, and with the buzz and the alcohol cabinet's full, going out every night. That was just my life every day. No progression. Until one day I had this enlightenment, this epiphany, and recognized I was on the wrong path, and immediately changed at age 28. And it wasn't long later, Martin, my son, was born. And many years later, my daughter was born. My son graduated from college. My daughter, she's still in high school, but she's on it. We're looking at colleges right now. What I'm saying is there were children that are waiting to be born through me. Children that had not yet been born, but were waiting to be positively influenced by me. What were they waiting on? Me. I thank God every day that these kids were not born to know me, who I was, but they came after I had already changed, what I was about. Once I was no longer confused. Once I had a game plan. The light bulb came on. I knew where I was at. I knew the desire, the direction that I wanted to go. So these kids are being positively influenced by me, who they would not have been positively influenced had I still been that other guy, okay? We have to desire to better ourselves. And we have to recognize that we are never whole. I mean, be content, but don't be satisfied. So be content in yourself so you can maintain a level of happiness no matter where you are in life, but always be ready to improve. Man, but I remember, and this has been years ago, man, Tony Robbins was the man for me. Now I'm thinking he might be a little iffy out there. But back then, he was the thing. It was in the 1990s or so. And from then, Stan Covey and the 7 Habits, and so many other influences in my life, the Warren Buffett, Jack Ma, Wayne Dyer, all these people, even Sun Tzu and Lao Tzu, people that have been long dead, but their writings are still with us, always searching to be better, searching for something else. Even when I'm in the grocery stores, I go to the magazines, the health, trying to make sure I eat right, certain exercises, things I need to do. I mean, I'll be 63 this year. But I'm still trying to improve myself physically and mentally and emotionally and spiritually, relationally, all those things. Always be on this journey. We have to be in a position where we recognize we have to be better. We can't be satisfied. And to me, that's the problem with weed. It may be the problem with alcohol, but we're not talking about that. Weed is worse in that respect because weed satisfies you. See, I'm not saying, be content, but don't be satisfied. Weed will satisfy you in whatever position you're in, and there is no drive to better yourself. That's the problem with weed. And so to me, even the legalization of weed is the wrong thing to do because we have enough issues in our society where we are not moved or motivated for self-improvement. Weed will just hammer that last nail in our coffin. That's not what we need. We need motivation. We need excitement. We need to recognize that we are not where we're supposed to be, and it's not up to anybody else. It's up to me to formulate a plan, figure out how to get out of this mess, and then walk it out. It'll work. But we got to do the footwork. We got to do the legwork. Just telling somebody else, or protesting and all this stuff, that's the easy way out. No, it's up to you. If black lives matter to you, then you make your black life matter. Not simply to you, but to those who are looking at you and those who will be descendants from you. For real. I'm telling you, man, we got to be influenced into those little eyes that are watching us. You can't be living off that woman. Man, I see it as a mailman in the hood. I know when a man is gotten, when all his stuff is thrown out, laying out in the middle of the street, that he was living with this woman, his second mama, and she put him out. I seen that. I seen that. It would be funny if it wasn't so pathetic. Because there are a lot of us as black men that are just little boys that have never grown up and just replaced mama with someone else. Just got another mama. Let's not be that. We have to be men. And the weed is the wrong way to go because the weed is keeping you from being motivated. It's keeping you satisfied with nothing. And there's potential. Now I wouldn't be telling you, just ragging on you without giving you an antidote, without giving you a way to make it right. I have my MBA. I started when I was 50. I had a high school diploma when I was 50. By the time I was 60, I had my MBA. If you're younger than me, I'm just saying you can do it. But you're going to have to stop smoking that weed. And you really need to stop drinking. You really need to stop smoking cigarettes. You need to start eating right. Get your health together. Exercise. When you start taking care of yourself, your whole aura, your whole demeanor will change. People will be drawn towards you. People will want to help you, to give you the opportunities that were once being denied you, but they have to see something in you. You're the way you're put together. I understand cultures and I understand this, but you got your pants halfway down your behind, that ain't gonna fly. And I'm not ragging on your style. I'm just saying there is more at stake. There is more at stake than just you. Let me just leave it at that. Well, anyway, this is going to go on and on. I hope you got something out of this conversation. And I do want to thank you for listening. And I want to invite you to listen again. You take care. Bye.